As the international break winds down, the spotlight naturally shifts back to Celtic, and there's no shortage of talking points surrounding the squad right now. Let's kick things off with Benji Negrin, who once again found himself as a spectator for the Swedish national team. Not a single minute on the pitch for him during this break, and you've got to feel that sting a little bit. It's one thing not to play when your team's doing well, but Sweden? They're in shambles right now. A home loss to Kosovo this week, following an earlier away defeat to the same team, has left them with just 1 point from a possible 12 in their World Cup qualifying group. That campaign is all but dead, and honestly, it's a bit of a disgrace given the talent in that squad. For Negrin, though, there's a weird silver lining, at least from Celtic's perspective. While the situation is frustrating for the player, he returns to Glasgow rested and scathed, and potentially eager to prove himself. The break may not have been productive in terms of caps or minutes, but the lack of action might just benefit him as the club heads into a heavy run of fixtures. Now, looking elsewhere in the squad, there's been a bit more movement. Sebastian Tenayekti was one of the names we were watching closely over the break. He didn't feature in the first of Chinesia's 2 friendlies, which had some fans a bit anxious, especially after rumors of a minor knock. But he did play in the second game, though not exactly how we expected. Reports had him lined up for a second-half appearance, but he was actually named in the starting 11 and featured on the right wing for the first 45 minutes. That's quite an interesting little twist, given how Celtic have struggled to find consistent answers for that position. He was subbed off at halftime, but let's not read too much into that. Chinesia had already qualified for the World Cup. They cruised through their group without even conceding a goal, so this game against Namibia was essentially a glorified friendly. The early substitution was likely just about managing his minutes after that knock. From a Celtic angle, the fact that he's fit enough to start, even briefly, is encouraging. He should be ready for Dens Park on Sunday, and that adds one more option to Brendan Rodgers' arsenal as he starts thinking about how to balance minutes with the fixture list about to ramp up in a serious way. And speaking of players returning from knocks, all eyes are on Daisen Maeda. He withdrew from the Japan squad ahead of their games, and that raised a few eyebrows. As of now, there's been no update from the Japanese camp and nothing concrete in the media either. That leaves us all waiting on Brendan Rodgers' press conference later in the week to get the full picture. The only thing we've really heard is that it's a left leg or foot issue, and considering there was no hint of injury when he joined up with Japan, the mystery adds a bit of unease. If he's out for Dens Park, that's a blow, but more crucially, it might be a sign of something lingering. And let's face it, Maeda hasn't exactly looked like himself lately, so it wouldn't be the worst idea to give him proper time to recover instead of rushing him back and risking a longer layoff. One bit of positive news, and probably the most uplifting update of the break, is the return of Alistair Johnston to training. Celtic released footage of him back at Lennoxtown, just 8 weeks after that nasty hamstring tear in the first leg against Kayak. Feels like ages ago, doesn't it? That game feels like it happened in a completely different season, considering how much has changed since. Back then, there was still a good degree of optimism swirling around the club, but since Johnston's injury, it feels like the mood has soured significantly. His return, then, couldn't be coming at a better time. He brings defensive solidity, leadership, and an attacking edge down the right that's been sorely missed. But let's not pretend he's ready to be thrown straight back into the fire. The expectation is that he'll be eased in slowly, and Dens Park could be the perfect setting for that. Kobe Donovan is expected to start on Sunday, and rightly so. He's been away with Scotland's under-21s, and every time he gets minutes for Celtic, he looks more and more assured. There's genuine excitement about his potential. Ideally, Celtic get the job done early in that match, and Johnston can come on in the second half, just to get the legs moving again in a competitive setting. With a gauntlet of crucial games on the horizon, Sturmgrass, Hearts, Rangers, and Midtjylland all coming up, having Johnston back to full fitness is going to be absolutely vital. But there's no reason to rush him. The bigger picture matters here. What's perhaps even more intriguing is how his return affects Brendan Rodgers' overall thinking when it comes to the best starting 11. There's a real argument to be made that Rodgers still doesn't know what his strongest lineup is. A year ago, you probably could have listed Celtic's best 11 in your sleep, but now? There's uncertainty in key areas, not helped by injuries or patchy form from players who were once considered undroppable. That said, Johnston being back gives us clarity in one department. The back six of this team is starting to look a bit more defined. Kasper Schmeichel in goal, a back four of Johnston, Carter Vickers, Scales, and Tierney, with Callum McGregor sitting just ahead of them. That looks solid, at least on paper. From there, though, it gets murky. The midfield is a puzzle, and the right wing continues to be a headache. Let's tackle the midfield first. It's hard to ignore just how stale things have become there. McGregor is a lock, sure, but who plays alongside him? Arian Engels hasn't exactly lit up the pitch this season, but there's a growing sentiment that he deserves a proper run in the team. He's had some good cameos, notably that assist for Balishaw against Motherwell, and with the midfield lacking energy and direction, maybe it's time to roll the dice. Give him the shirt and tell him it's his spot to lose. See what he does with that trust. It might not work out, but doing nothing isn't an option anymore. Then there's Michel Baladisha. Now here's a wild card. Some forget that before arriving at Celtic, he played centrally at times for Antwerp, and he said himself that he thrives when he's pressing high and operating in tight spaces. Those traits sound tailor-made for an interior midfield role, rather than being wasted out wide where he seems less effective. Slotting him next to Engels with McGregor behind them could add a bit of unpredictability and sharpness. It might not be the trio you start against Rangers, but for now, when the team needs a spark, it's worth experimenting. As for the right wing, well, it remains Celtic's problem child. Maeda, when he's played there, hasn't looked convincing. The bigger question is Maeda struggling because he's out of form or because he's out of position? Either way, the answer so far hasn't been positive. Young hasn't shown enough to earn consistent starts. James Forrest isn't the long-term answer, and Benji Negrin? Maybe, just maybe, he benefits from having Johnston back, providing those overlapping runs, giving him more space to cut inside. That's a theory floated around, but it remains just that, a theory. Negrin hasn't exactly inspired confidence on the right flank. Baladisha was tried there once, but it was forgettable. And now, with Tenaekti, showing he can play on the right for Chinesia, maybe that's something to explore. He said his preferred side is the left, but if he can be effective on the right, even temporarily, that might help stabilize things. It could allow for someone like Maeda or Baladisha to move back to the left, and eventually, months down the line, Ja could come back into the picture as well. For now, Rodgers has to work with the tools available, and that means being flexible and open to some unconventional choices. One thing's for sure, this stretch of fixtures coming up will demand answers. The luxury of time is gone. There's no more margin for error, and while the international break gave us all a bit of breathing room, it also reset the pressure. Expectations are high, and the fan base is watching every move. The players returning from international duty, the ones healing from injury, and those waiting for their chance. Everyone's got something to prove. And just as we try to piece together solutions on the pitch, the challenges off it continue to add weight to what feels like a pivotal moment in Celtic's season. The club isn't just fighting for form anymore. There's a bigger conversation happening among the fans, one that's becoming louder and harder for the board to ignore. We'll get into that shortly, but let's circle back to the pressing football matters first, especially this puzzle that is the Celtic midfield. Rio Hatate. That name still carries weight among the support, but at the same time, it's impossible to ignore the drop-off. His quality is undeniable when he's on it. Sharp touches, vision, the ability to dictate a game with one well-timed pass. But let's be honest, it's been a long time since we've seen that version of Hatate. There's a creeping feeling that maybe, just maybe, his best days in green and white are already behind him. It's not that he's turned into a bad player overnight, but his body language, his influence, even the way he moves on the pitch, it feels like a player who's stuck between two realities. One, where he's still a key part of Celtic, and another, where he thought he'd already moved on to a new challenge. Maybe that move never materialized. Maybe he's waiting for January, who knows. But what's certain is that Celtic can't afford to wait with him. If he's not ready to give 100%, physically or mentally, then others need to step in. Names like Paulo Bernardo and Odin Thiago Holm have been floated around, but neither has truly grabbed their moment. Bernardo's had flashes of promise, but there's still a disconnect in the rhythm of his game. Holm is clearly still raw, and it's not the time to be handing out learning minutes in high-stakes matches. So again, we circle back to Engels and Baladisha. They might not be the polished answer, But right now, Celtic needs energy, urgency, and something new. A midfield of McGregor, Engels, and Baladisha may not be perfect, but it's different. And that's what this team's been crying out for in recent weeks. Further up the pitch, the striker role seems more settled, at least for now. Kelechi Iheanacho has looked the part, and while he still needs to sharpen up his finishing, the movement and link-up play have been promising. He gives the attack a focal point, something that's been missing for long stretches this season. You get the sense that with the right service, the goals will come. He's strong, clever in his positioning, and not afraid to drop deep when needed. It gives the wide players more room to operate, and when Celtic do manage to stretch the pitch, they've looked far more dangerous. The issue, of course, is consistency. One week it clicks, the next it falls apart. That's been the theme of this season, hasn't it? A team that's yet to find its rhythm, still searching for an identity under Brendan Rodgers, despite having the names and the talent on paper. And that brings us back to the manager. Rodgers is under no illusions. He knows the pressure is mounting. It's not toxic, not yet, but the murmurs are growing. Questions are being asked not just about tactics, but about squad selections, substitutions, even motivation. The post-match interviews are being analyzed word for word. Every eyebrow raise, every shrug, every deflection. Fans are reading into all of it. That's the reality when you manage a club like Celtic. There's no grace period, especially not for someone who's already had a successful spell at the club and returned under the cloud of huge expectations. The bar was always going to be sky high, and right now, the performances haven't reached it. What Rodgers does next could shape the season. He's got players returning, but he's also got decisions to make that require a bit of bravery. Does he stick with experience and hope form returns? Or does he hand the keys to a younger, hungrier group that might bring more risk but also more reward? Does he drop underperforming stars, even if it means some awkward headlines? Because make no mistake, this team isn't just in a tactical rut, it's in a psychological one too. You can see it in the slow starts, the nervous defending, the lack of confidence in the final third. This is a group that needs a reset. And the only way that happens is if the manager leads that reset from the front. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Explosive whispers have been circling Parkhead, and it looks like the rumors are finally taking shape. Celtic have reportedly wrapped up a deal for Josh DOIG, sending shockwaves through Scottish football. Sources close to the club hint that this signing could alter the complexion of the season entirely, with fans already buzzing at the prospect of seeing the dynamic wingback in Hoops colors. DOIG, known for his blistering pace down the flanks and uncanny ability to join the attack, has been on the radar of a handful of top clubs. Yet, it seems the lure of Celtic Park, the atmosphere, the history, and the chance to play in Europe proved irresistible. While nothing has been officially confirmed, insiders suggest that Celtic have moved swiftly to secure the 21-year-old talent, a move that could send a clear message to rivals. The Hoops are serious about reclaiming domestic dominance and making noise on the continental stage. The timing of this rumor is equally tantalizing. With the season in full swing, the addition of DOIG could inject fresh energy into a side that has shown flashes of brilliance but struggled for consistency. Managers and pundits alike are speculating how DOIG's versatility might be harnessed. Could he slot straight into the starting 11? Or will he be eased in as a rotational option, providing depth and dynamism on either flank? Either way, the buzz around Parkhead is palpable, with supporters already dreaming of his surging runs, overlapping passes, and pinpoint crosses. And let's not forget the psychological impact. A signing like this isn't just about talent on the pitch, it's about sending a statement. Celtic are signaling ambition, and the ripple effect is already being felt in training grounds and boardrooms across the Premiership. The transfer window may be closed in other leagues, but in Glasgow, the speculation has never been hotter. Fans are checking every social feed, every tweet, every hint from insiders, desperate for that official confirmation that could ignite the season in ways previously unimagined. For now, it remains a tantalizing rumor, a piece of gossip that has sent hearts racing and tongues wagging. But if true, Josh DOIG in Celtic Green isn't just a signing. It's potentially a season changer. And in a league where momentum is everything, The Hoops might just have found their ace in the hole. Keep your eyes on Parkhead. If the whispers prove correct, this could be one of the defining moves of the Scottish Premiership season. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.